Looks like it's pushing kind of off to the east right now. This has been kind of disorganized for the good bit here. Haven't really seen it really organize itself too well. We have two notches. You have one over Archer City that we're watching. We also have the one out here near Windthorst. That's the one we're on right now off 281. We're sitting just a half mile north of Windthorst at this time. This is pushing, it looks to be about the east, southeast right now. And, you know, it interacted with that outflow boundary. It looks like it helped it kind of boost itself some, but the wall cloud hasn't really organized itself. We saw some pretty rapid rising motion. However, that is starting to slow down some at this time, but we're going to keep an eye on this, see if it does want to organize into a further wall cloud and maybe even try to put down a tornado.
All right, well, we're going to keep an eye on that, Cam. Let's go back over to the radar. And there's our tornado warning we got. And again, this is east of Archer City. There's a couple notches in there we're watching, and we can put the velocities on. Yeah, you've got a couple areas of rotation. I'm about to, well, actually I see three. I see three areas of rotation on here. And, you know, we've been watching this thing on the radar and basically from Cameron, and we've seen some really crazy motions in this storm here. And you've got an area of rotating or circulating winds over here just south of Blue Grove. And this is the one that Cameron is on there, just just barely east of Windthorst, right along the Clay and Archer County line, and you have another area of some circulating motions going on just west of Windthorst here too. We got an outflow boundary, and again, what an outflow boundary is rain-cooled air, and what happens with that is that the air along it, the winds cause the outflow boundary, along the outflow boundary move like this. They spin in a horizontal direction. And whenever it can interact with these supercell thunderstorms, remember there's updrafts, they're lifting up the air like this. It causes that horizontal spin, it ingests and it goes up vertical, and then that helps to cause the storms to spin more. So even on days when you don't have a lot of low-level wind shear, an outflow boundary completely can change the game here. So we have rotation showing up just south of Blue Grove. This is mostly over rural sections of Clay County here, but it's just south of Blue Grove and just west-northwest of Buffalo Springs. Now this is moving kind of to the southeast here. So if you're anywhere across southern or southwestern Clay County, these are the areas we're watching for. The strongest rotation I see is this one over here, just barely east of Windthorst. Now, when you look at the radar, you really don't see anything that suggests that this is about to put a tornado down. We've been watching these clouds and the motions in these clouds all afternoon long, and there's a lot of motion in these clouds here. And fortunately, nothing has been put down yet. But if you live in Windthorst, you got rotation on, you're kind of sandwiched here. You got rotation to your east, you got rotation to your west here. And then you got, again, this storm over here near Blue Grove is also showing signs of spinning here too. But the tornado warning is going to be kind of for this area here, I believe. And there may also be, I'm just going to go ahead and throw this into the mix as well. So these are the areas we're watching, and those are some really, really dark clouds there on the radar here. So what happens, again, you got this wind, you got these colors with radar allow us to see the motions and the wind speeds in these thunderstorms here, and that's what helps us determine area of rotation. Now, I know a lot of times you can look at this and say, I don't know what that means, Ken. Well, if you take a look here, this red color represents the winds that are on the back side of the, there's probably multiple updrafts in this storm here. This is some sinking winds on the back side of the storm, and the spinning motion of the storm pulls them on around here. These are the winds blowing towards the radar. This is that warm inflow, and you got a little bit of a notch right there, kind of southeast of Lake Arrowhead and kind of just south of Blue Grove by about 5 miles or so here. Looks like we got a wall cloud over here. Let's go back to Cameron's feed, and Cameron got a wall cloud there. Which part of the storm are you on at this time?
We are playing the notch that's just located just due northeast of Windthorst at this time. Now we're on an eastward trajectory, moving parallel with the storm at the time. I believe it's going to be Highway 174. That's going to be moving right along the south of this rotation at this time. Pretty close to the wall cloud. Still has some rising motion. However, you know, we saw it pretty rapid earlier on, not as rapid as it once was. I don't really see any signs of rear flank downdraft at this time. You do actually have, I can see some spin because we do have some clouds out ahead. You can see inflow still flowing into the storm at this time. So there is still some good moving parts to the storm. Not a lot of rotation necessarily with the wall cloud. Looks like it might be trying to organize at this current time. Not as, it's, you know, we've seen it lower, we've seen our wall cloud stay lower, but this one does not look to be as low. But it looks like it's trying to continue to wrap itself together with this wall cloud and then see if it tries to drop a tornado out of that. So we're sitting just about a mile east of Windthorst itself, looking right towards the notch area of the storm. So we're watching it closely to see if this does want to continue to try to wrap itself up, or if this thing is going to kind of break free off the outflow boundary and then kind of go higher base and you know, become a bit more of a, I won't say limited, but you kind of switch back to that hail and wind threat with that storm.
Just kind of looking at it, let's go back over to the radar. Just kind of looking at it. it kind of looks like this storm, that rotation, and this may be why it's not reaching the ground. And I think what happened as we were on earlier, I think the outflow boundary itself was pushing through. And you got to think that that's going to help cause the storm. When you got this motion coming in from the backside, it caused the storm to spin. You got to think if you have a thing of water, like a tub of water, and you push it, what's going to happen? It's going to create a swirl or an eddy. There's your outflow boundary there. I think this part of the notch here that is east of Archer City and just west of Windthorst, that's elevated. This is your notch, but it looks like to me that it's kind of being ingested into the supercell here where Cameron is at. So you've got the outflow boundary, and remember what I said. These outflow boundaries, the motion with them does like this horizontal twists, and it spins. And whenever these rotating updrafts can ingest that, it takes that horizontal spin and tilts it vertically and starts to really ingest that. And the more it can ingest, the faster the updraft can spin, and then you get lower pressure that can condense down to the Earth's surface here. So it looks like to me that's your outflow boundary. It looks like it is ingesting in perhaps into the updraft a bit here. That is a really strong supercell thunderstorm. So even on days like today, when you don't have a lot of spin down our way at least, and we don't have a whole lot, these outflow boundaries can really change the game. Now, in addition to that, you're also seeing hail moving across the central part of Clay County on the east side of Lake Arrowhead. So let me kind of tell you what's going on. Wichita Falls, we're safe. No threat from this storm. This is the one that pushed through here earlier, but we're safe from it. Henrietta, you got heavy rain moving over you now, but the severe weather aspects are just south of Henrietta by a little bit. But if you were to drive and go south down towards Blue Grove, you get into the heavy rain and you get into at least some hail threats. Most of it's small here. You go back towards Lake Arrowhead. You've got some heavy rain over Lake Arrowhead. By the way, Lake Arrowhead has been very close to being 100%. This should get it there. Then you got on the back side of Lake Arrowhead with another updraft here about to move over the southern shores. There'll probably be some hail there. So probably some ping pong, maybe golf ball size hail moving over the southern shores of Lake Arrowhead. Then you go south of Lake Arrowhead, and again, there's your rotation. There's your little updraft right in that area, just east of Windthorst by a little bit. I'm going to go back over here to the radar, and I'm going to change sources to have a look at this here. We're going to go, let's go back to Cameron first, though. Cameron, you know, I think that this storm, the outflow boundary anyway, I think the storm's ingesting that. Do you think that's the case, and is that a wall cloud right there?
I think so. It looks like there is a bit of a wall cloud. It's not super defined because it looks like it's starting to get mixed in with some rain on the backside of it. But what I'm seeing happen here, I might be seeing the rear flank downdraft. It looks like there might be a bit of a wraparound with the rear flank downdraft on the velocity signature. If you pull up what we call storm relative velocity, which tells us how the particles, the rain particles, are moving in relation to the storm itself. And it looks like there might be some rear flank downdraft trying to wrap around the backside of the storm. It looks like I can see that moving into the storm at the time. Still seeing some inflow in the storm as well, but now we're going to go ahead and get a little further off to the east because winds are now coming out of our west right now, so we're out of play on it at this current spot, but we're not far, so we should get a little further up to the east. But, you know, nothing super defined, nothing looks imminent at this current time, but we'll keep a close eye. Nothing that really strikes me as too concerning right now, Ken, but again, there is some rotation on the radar. It's not the best rotation, not the strongest rotation, but it has something there, and it does look like there might be potentially some rear flank downdraft feeding into the storm as well, so we'll see if it's going to try to wrap up or not.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm looking at the radar here, back over the radar, and you still see several areas in there that are showing at least some sign of spin here. Let me get that data here. I do believe that, you know, the outflow, and without being there, without getting observations, it's really hard to see. But, you know, it looks like I don't know why it keeps doing that, but it looks like your outflow boundary, or this little boundary that it's kind of spinning along, it's kind of ingesting into about right there. You've got an updraft. An updraft again. That's like the exhaust for the storm. That's what feeds it. That's you know, it pulls that in. That's what feeds the thunderstorm. So you've got an updraft there, and you probably got one right over Windthorst, and you got one east of Windthorst here too. I think that this is the one that's ingesting that little horizontal spin in the atmosphere there. So if you kind of take a look, and like Cameron said, there's nothing here that's imminent as far as a tornado being produced, but you know, that is some pretty good spin in the thunderstorm there, just east of Windthorst. It really, at least on radar, probably some of the best rotation that I've seen thus far. Some pretty strong winds blowing into and away from. You've got that push and pull. So whenever I talk about severe weather and tornadoes, you got to have push and pull. You got, I believe that this green color that you see, I believe that this is that This is the outflow boundary itself, I think, that's pulling in. I think that this is being pulled in. So you got this updraft that's sitting here spinning and sucking everything up. And then you got this boundary in here that's getting pulled in and sucked up here too. So that's probably what you're seeing here. You're seeing that outflow boundary getting wrapped around this. And there is your, if you ever hear Cameron talk about rear flank downdraft, you got the sinking air on the backside of the thunderstorm here that's pushing on around. And if this ever can kind of gust out and kind of begin, they call it, what do they call it? They call it RFD. I forget what they call it. It's when the RFD and the inflow get real close together, and it creates the stronger wind, the stronger rotation. But you do got a pretty good couplet there, just east of Windthorst. And again, I believe that that's your outflow boundary getting sucked into here. So we'll have to watch this. If this sinking air, this rear flank downdraft can surge out a bit here and begin to wrap around more, we could get a tornado that could develop over here east of Windthorst. So if you're down, and the good news is this is in rural areas, southwest of Blue Grove, east of Windthorst here. There could be something trying to develop over in this area here. If it does, it would probably be brief. It probably wouldn't be on the ground for long, but a brief tornado could be possible, you know, if this thing can continue to show any signs of wrapping up. But, you know, the good news also with having a storm chaser and spotters in the field, you get a good bird's eye view at the clouds look like, because you look at the radar and you can say, oh, well, this is going on. But when you get a good look at the clouds, you can say, oh, well, this is what's going on. You can either confirm this or you can deny this. And what I see on the cloud from what Cameron is showing me, yeah, it looks like a lot of downward motion. You don't see a lot of, I don't really see a lot of blocky wall clouds in that right now. It's like mostly what we see there is kind of outward pushing motions there. But on the radar anyway, it tells a bit of a different story. Rotation is fairly broad, but again, we're going to watch this and see if it wraps around here. We'll have to kind of wait and see. Just judging on what I'm seeing with the clouds that are right there, looks like that is not happening, at least not yet anyway, but we'll need to keep a close eye on it. But again, this is moving over the rural areas down here in Clay County. So I'm talking about areas maybe down towards Shannon and south of Blue Grove and west of Buffalo Springs. So it's kind of in this area right there, southwestern Clay County. Oh, looks like we may have something. Cameron, let's go to you right now. Let's go to Cameron. Looks like a little funnel maybe dipping down there, huh?
No, I see what you're seeing on the camera. That's not a funnel cloud. I believe it's just inflow. You got a lot of scud out here ahead of this. So we're getting out ahead of the rotation at this time. We're getting out of the rain right now. That looks like a funnel cloud, but I promise it's not a funnel cloud. I do believe that's just going to be some inflow flowing into the storm right now. So it looks deceiving on the camera, but that's just some general inflow going into the storm right now. So a little deceiving on the camera, but nothing imminent. So at this time, we're going towards just pushing east right now. We got downward chasers out here right now as well. We're pushing east out of Windthorst, getting out ahead of this thing right now. Not too far ahead, but just a little bit out ahead to keep us out of the rain and get a better panoramic view of the storm, because we're kind of sitting, not necessarily on top of it, but sitting pretty close to it. So I want to get us further away so we can get a better view of what's going on, see the motions in the storm.
All right, back over to the radar we go. And so this is what we're looking at here. You know, the overall structure of the storm just continues to kind of, it kind of looks a little bit messier than it did a few minutes ago. You don't really see the hooks. Of course, it could be trying to reorganize, but it does look kind of messy. So let me talk about what else is going on besides here. So we got people asking about, hey, what's going on over in Monte County? Well, there's the northern side of that cluster of storms that is moving across Clay County. We're talking about heavy rain in Henrietta, Ringgold, those areas here. That's about to build over into the western parts of Monte County here soon. So Nakona, you're going to get some rain and maybe some wind. Right now, there are no warnings in effect for this part of the storm. We go down to the south and look down into Bowie, and there's some really strong, probably some hefty clouds, heavy-looking dark clouds just west of you there, and some heavy rain will be moving over into the Bowie area pretty shortly. So if you are in Bowie, I'd say probably by 7:15, there'll be some heavy rain and gusty winds moving into your area. And you might even see some hail there too. Now down towards Jacksboro, there's a couple little storms that have tried to develop between Jacksboro and Antelope. But that main storm is up there into Clay County still. So if you're wondering about Bowie, are you going to get a warning? I think you could get a severe thunderstorm warning. You know, we'll continue to watch the spin. There's been some decent spin in it, but nothing that's looked tornadic. And again, like I've been saying, I just think we just don't have enough of the low-level wind shear to really produce that. But these outflow boundaries can sometimes make, you know, a bit of a difference in that there. And of course, we've been watching Cameron's feed, and looks like we got maybe a wall cloud in the distance. Is that what you see there, Cameron? Is that a wall cloud in the distance?
Showing you the inflow on the storm right now. We're showing you the inflow on the feed right now. That's what you're seeing. That's pretty good air rising into the storm at this time. And we're getting further ahead because this thing's moving pretty quickly. And one thing that's going to be a really a challenge is if this is going to have a tornado, it is going to be rain wrapped. Because I mean, we're getting out ahead of the storm a good bit, but I mean, this thing is messy and it is got a lot of rain within it. So if it's going to produce a tornado, it's going to be rain wrapped. So it's going to be hard to see it as well.
Too many. Is there much chaser convergence out there, Cameron?
You know, there's a good number of chasers out here. We actually just passed an intersection. There's a good probably 10, 20 chasers out here, but not like we see on our, what we call the high risk days, not like where it's bumper to bumper traffic. It's pretty manageable today.
All right, back over to the radar. Here we go. And yeah, still looking at these storms here. And back toward Archer City now, you've got some showers over you, but the worst of that, of the storm anyway, is east of you. So we got people saying that the sirens are going off in Scotland, but if you look, there's Scotland, and any rotation is south of you. It is not over Scotland. So no need to have the sirens going off in Scotland, that is for sure. Heavy rain, of course, like I've said before, you know, different cities have different criterias for when they sound the alarm, and it doesn't always have to be tornado warnings for them to sound the alarms. My best advice for you is to, all right, so the outdoor warning system is meant to alert people who are outdoors. But I don't think it was ever meant, even when they first installed it back in the 70s and 80s, I don't think it was ever meant to be your only source of getting your weather information, especially in today's world. Today's world, you know, you got weather at your fingertips really anytime, day or night. So my best advice to you is a NOAA weather radio. Of course, those are down right now. So the very best advice is to download our app. Our app, the First Alert 6 weather app, has the features where it will alert you. You can set it for what alerts you want. You can set it for what counties you want. It's the best thing you can do. And to me, that's the best. Don't worry about sirens anymore. They're good if you're outdoors and just to be alerted, but it's better to have, because everybody has their cell phone on you. So that to me is the better thing to do is, let's go with today's time, today's technology, and let's go with that. So there's that low-hanging cloud, Cameron. Looks like that thing is pretty low-hanging there, kind of blocky there too.
Yeah, we're a good bit ahead of the storm right now. Not too far ahead, but now we're at a spot where we can get some pretty good visuals on it right now. And you can see a lot of really good ground scraping inflow going into the storm right now. So still pulling in some really warm and humid air at this time. And you can start to see a better visual of the wall cloud. Like I said, if you're too far behind close to the storm, it's going to be wrapped in rain, so it's a bit harder to see. But now we're getting a bit ahead of it right now and seeing some pretty good visuals at this time. I don't see anything imminent right now still. Nothing overly well-defined in terms of funnel clouds or anything of the sort, but it's a pretty menacing looking wall cloud now. Not to the magnitude like we saw out there in Baylor County about a month or so ago, but it kind of does have that really strong inflow going into it as well, and just a pretty rough, ragged structure to it as well. So nothing major still ongoing at this time, but we're watching it closely, staying ahead of this thing, moving pretty much parallel with it. Great chase going on right now, and we'll keep an eye on it, see if this thing does try to produce anything. But that's the latest, still wall cloud, great inflow, and that's about it right now.
Try to get up close to it so you can see it. Since it's not really producing a tornado or anything, try to get right up there on it and get us some good video there. That'd be awesome.
I'm not opposed to the idea. The only downside is the road network doesn't really let me do that, because the roads out here where I'm at right now aren't too favorable right now. My best option road-wise is where I'm at right now.
No, but if you get a chance, get up there and let's take a look. Let's take a look at it there. So anyway, we're back into the radar, and you can still see. I can still see some spin in it. Looking at the velocities, I don't know why this keeps doing this. But if you take a look here, the latest velocities, that's a pretty decent area. I don't see a super tight couplet in there, but there's good rotation between Shannon, Blue Grove, and Buffalo Springs. That's some pretty decent rotation. I can see the updraft in there. All right, so it's almost like a little eye of a hurricane. You can almost see it. There's your center. There's your center of the circulation that was right in there, and I don't know why this keeps happening like that. I don't know what's going on to cause this. But you can see that was where our circulation was. I don't know if the radar keeps going down, or I don't think that's the case. I'm not sure what it is. But anyway, there's your rotation in the storm, and it looks to me like there's a decent. It looks like they might be trying to produce something. If we take a look there, look at that wall cloud, folks. Cameron, to me the rotation looks pretty good.
Oh, I definitely agree. Definitely has some good rotation looking at the radar, especially if you look at I've been looking at storm relative velocity myself, which again tells me how the winds are moving in relation to the storm. So what we're about to do now is we're about to pull off here on the side of the road. We're going to sit for a minute or two, Just watching, you got really good visual of the wall cloud. Fantastic inflow dead ahead of us. Plenty of inflow going into the storm at this current moment. And like I said, we're gonna pull over here, get a better visual on the storm right now, and then we'll keep you updated.
All right, so I'm just reading from the Weather Service. Still some tornado potential there, but strong RFD winds. Also, I'm just reading the Weather Service here, so that's all I was doing. But yeah, that's been a pretty impressive storm to say the least there. And if we look at the radar again, you can see where the spin is there. It's moving just south of Blue Grove. A pretty good rotation. I don't see a super tight couplet that suggests that it's producing a tornado, but there is definitely some spin in there. Judging on, this is what we call velocities, and again, the radar is showing, the wind direction and the wind speed. Now, in addition to that, you got some strong winds that are pushing out from the thunderstorm. That's again, it's called the rear flank downdraft, and that's pushing out. And those strong winds on the backside, and now it looks like to me the storm is moving more east than it is southeast. So you might, if this rotation continues, you might see this tornado warning get maybe pushed over there to Buffalo Springs and maybe even the Bellevue area. And if that were to happen, then you might even have to watch out over here in Montague County. But we'll just have to see what this thing does and what the behavior of it looks like here. But again, no tornado on the ground, nothing that's confirmed here anyway. We do see, you can see the little updraft right in there. You can see the spin in it, and you can see the little dot, and the little updraft in this thunderstorm here would be right about there. That's it. And then over here on the left of my screen, there's your motions with the storm there. You got some what we call the strong winds on the backside of it. You got some strong winds moving in. A lot of the different motions in these winds here, and it's been a wicked cloud to say the least. And this is the same cloud that went through Wichita Falls and produced those strong wind gusts about 5:30. Then it moved out into Archer County, and then it began to ride along that outflow boundary. And whenever that happened, it started ingesting that spin, and it caused it to start rotating a bit here. So, and that's why we now got these tornado warnings down there into Clay County. Again, this is well south of Henrietta. You can still see that motion in the storm. Cameron, is that RFD moving over you now?
Sorry, I was on the tracker. Yeah, that is RFD that's moving over us right now. That's what we're watching. We're watching the RFD. In terms of where we're at, in terms of the couple, I'm trying to see if I can get a better eye. We're probably sitting about, let's see here, draw it up here on my radar. 1 second here, Ken. I'm trying to get an idea of how far I am from the couplet. Looking probably about 2 or 3 miles off to our northwest at this time. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to stay ahead of the rear flank downdraft because it's obviously windy in there and got a lot of rain, makes it a bit more difficult to drive. But the chaser convergence is starting to catch up as well. So we're about to get back on the move here. Good rear flank downdraft, good inflow flowing into the storm. Still pretty warm and humid air out ahead of the storm. So still a pretty favorable environment for the storm. It's just going to be a matter of if it has enough spin at the Earth's surface to get down to the Earth's surface or not.
You can see the spin there on your feed. Yeah, you guys are probably going to need to move to get out of the way from all that stuff there. So we'll keep an eye on it. But there's your the latest radar. And again, this is called reflectivity. So in addition to the threat of a tornado here, which we don't see one yet or nothing imminent, you've also got hail. And like you heard Cameron say, it's pretty wrapped in rain. And this is south of Blue Grove. And it is to the west there, west-northwest of Buffalo Springs. And if we put this in motion here, you can really see it kind of wrapping up there. And it's the rotating part of the storm is moving a little bit more east now than it is southeast here. And that's a pretty low-hanging cloud there from Cameron's feed. Cameron, is that what is that we're seeing there?
That right there looks like it is. It might be trying to build into the wall cloud, or it could just be some general inflow. I see exactly what you're talking about. I can't really tell. I think it's just potentially some no wall cloud inflow. It's really hard to tell. I'm on the move right now, but it looks like it could either be wall cloud or it could just be some general inflow at this time. It's really hard to tell. Like I said, this storm is, we're almost line parallel with the rotation. Oh my goodness, lightning is crazy. Sorry. We got the clouds here. It could be a wall cloud, could be inflow. It's really hard to tell, but it's flowing directly into the storm this time. You still got ahead of it plenty of good inflow, but I honestly cannot discern if that's going to be inflow or wall cloud, if the wall cloud will be further wrapped back into the rain or not. But yeah.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see the moisture flowing into it there. So I'm going to walk over to the wall and kind of explain to our viewers what they're seeing here. And again, this is over there in southern Clay County. This is kind of Buffalo Springs, Blue Grove area, kind of rural areas here. But this, if you see these little clouds here, that's moisture. That's that humid air flowing into the thunderstorm. When we talk about inflow, that's what that is there. You can see it feeding into the thunderstorm. So this is the motion in the storm is flowing into this direction here. And notice how this is a curved cloud back this way. If you ever hear us talk about the RFD, this is that sinking air on the back side of it here. And in this case, it would be some rain-cooled air too. And so you got to think the updraft is spinning here. So you've got the inflow in here. Here's your RFD. And when these two start to interact, you'll start seeing a bit of, what happens is the pressure in the storm drops, and you get a low-hanging wall cloud here. So that looks like to me where you'd see your wall cloud here. And if this RFD could ever really wrap and cut into the inflow and kind of begin to narrow the channel here a bit, that's when you have to worry about it producing a tornado. There's a lot of research that's being done about the role that these two features take place in storms. And when you see these, the Doppler on wheels, the Dow, and those things are out there, and all these scientists that come out to the plains and study these things every year, that's what they're doing. They're measuring the winds, and they're out there looking at it here. And you know, that's a very impressive looking cloud. Again, this is thankfully over rural areas, but the good news is it's not producing anything. To get a tornado, you see this inflow flowing in. You kind of have to have that down here too some, and you just don't have a lot of that outside of those boundaries here. But look at how things have kind of blocked off now here. So there's your RFD coming in. That was your inflow. You can kind of see the little finger there. And right in there, you're getting a wall cloud there. You can see the blocky look of it there. So you get these different motions, you get these different temperatures, you get these condensation, and if all this can spin up enough, then the pressure in the storm, it's low pressure, it will lower to the ground here. It stretches, and also notice how it's tilted here as well. That's your inflow, and the more it tilts, it pulls that warm, moist air in from out of the Earth's surface here. Now, to get the better low-level wind shear, you've got to have winds that hit it harder up around this part of the storm here. Up here, you can have some strong winds, but that doesn't have as much to do with what's going on down here. But that's a pretty blocky wall cloud there, over there in rural parts of Clay County here this evening. And it definitely got some spin to it. Cameron, you guys are trying to reposition yourself, but that thing is really looks pretty blocky to me.
Oh yeah, definitely a good blocky wall cloud. Unfortunately, the trees are kind of becoming an issue right now, but we're about to get out of these trees and get to some hilltops here. But definitely a blocky wall cloud. I'm not in a spot, I'm too low of an elevation where I could see if it has any lowering coming out of that wall cloud. But now we're getting pretty well ahead of the storm to where we do have good visuals on the wall cloud. That's kind of been the issue of this chase, is we're being almost, I'll say too close, but just in a spot where we can't really see the structure that well. So we're getting out here. We're going down 281, or I believe this is 281. No, 174, sorry, excuse me, 174. And Ken, I tell you what, this lighting is wicked. We're watching through the windshield, just lightning bolts come directly across on the highway. So very, very dangerous lighting in place of the storm as well as of course the tornado warning too. Still got really favorable inflow going into the storm, but we're about to come up on a hill. Wonder if maybe at the top of this hill we can get a better visual of this wall cloud ourselves. So we'll see here in just about 30 seconds or so. Yeah, you can see the wall cloud pretty decently there. But we'll get you updated when we get into a better spot. We're about to, once we get a spot clear where we have some clearing, we'll pull over and take another look.
I'm going to do some radar analysis. And there's a new tornado warning now that goes for southern Clay County. And remember, I told you earlier, I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing get nudged a little bit. You know, the first warning kind of had it warned southeast. But when these things are spinning and they're interacting with these boundaries, they have a tendency to change course here a bit. And it's kind of changed course a little bit, has some deviant storm motions. And this is moving over Buffalo Springs. But if you're in the community of Buffalo Springs, the town of Buffalo Springs, and you're no stranger to weather like this, you know, this is going to be something wrapped in rain, and you have to keep a close eye on it. So now's the time to be in your tornado safe spot. And on radar, there's still good rotation in it. You don't really see a super tight couplet. You know, you don't really see, at least on radar. Basically, what I see on radar is exactly what I see with Cameron's feed there. You see the broad rotation, and you see what would probably be a wall cloud. I don't see just a super tight couplet, although it is pretty decent. And you do got some strong motions for sure. But you know, the radar presentation isn't quite there yet for a tornado, at least on these scans here. Of course, these scans can come in and they can be a bit different. it can take them sometime a little while for them to update. But I do want to also urge people downwind here as well. The storm is no longer moving southeast, it's moving more east-southeast. So Buffalo Springs, community of Buffalo Springs, this is headed right at you. It's about to move right over Joy. It's right over Joy right now. The rotation is right over Joy. Again, as you've heard Cameron talk about, this is a rain-wrapped circulation in this storm here. And it's moving over Joy, and from there it's going to be moving basically right along 174, or maybe just a hair north of 174, and then going to move right across Buffalo Springs. It should be in Buffalo Springs shortly. From there, Vashti, you could be impacted by this. Bellevue, it's going to be a close call. It could go, at least on this trajectory, looks like it would go near or just south of you, and that would probably be by about 7:15, 7:20. From there, if it holds together, it will be impacting the Bowie. Now, Bowie, you're under severe thunderstorm warning, but if this thing continues, if it continues to spin, and I'm not saying it will, then we could see some tornado warnings issued over there. That's just where everything has been this year. It seems like Monte County. Cameron, it looks like you got a good shot of the wall cloud there again.
Yeah, we're getting to a hilltop here where we got some decent clearing out here. So we're about to pull over and just kind of sit for a second. Actually, going to pull just a little bit further up here. But yeah, now we're getting ahead. We're still ahead of this thing right now. It's decently off to our back right now, but I want to stay ahead of this because the rain kind of coming across the highway right now. I don't want to get caught in too much of heavy rain, especially with all the chasers out here on the roads. The lightning is absolutely wicked right now, Ken. Seeing nothing but cloud of ground out ahead of the storm right now. And unfortunately, that wall cloud does look like it's blocked by a bit of some trees at the moment. But we're pulling off now, and now we're just going to sit for a little bit and wait for this thing to come closer to us to get a better visual on it.
Okay, well, let's see here. I'm going to go back over to the radar, kind of reset the situation here a bit. And there is, like I say, everything is wrapped in rain for sure. It's going to be real difficult to see anything that spins there. But heavy rain and hail from Blue Grove into the Buffalo Spring area. This is going to continue to build east towards Vashti, and then eventually it heads over into southwestern parts of Monte County. So Bowie will watch you. We'll see what happens. We'll see what the behavior of the storm is like. We can go north, and there's storms that this is the northern side of this complex. That'll head towards Nocona, but that is not severe. We can jump up into Jefferson County, and a lot of the activity is now shifted east of Waurika, which is certainly some good news here. Also, I don't mean to be ignoring our southern counties, but there hasn't been as much bad weather down there today. Now, there's another supercell kind of south of Possum Kingdom, but that's been a severe thunderstorm warning. And there's, again, the reason why it's not a tornado warning is there's no boundary for it to spin on. The low-level wind shear just isn't good enough for it to produce a tornado by itself. All right, let's go with Cameron right now. Cameron's got something he wants to talk about. Cameron, what's up?
Ken, something I was noticing I want you to take a look at as well. I'm not sure if you're doing it between looking at radar scans and such. Is I have some questions about the placement of the rotation on the storm because it's kind of getting to that area where there's a bit of a radar hole at this time. It's kind of in that crossing zone between Dallas and then the Frederick radar. If you look between Frederick, it has the couplet kind of north of the highway at this time. If you take a look into the radar out of Dallas, it looks like it is now south of the highway. So there's some deferring questions regarding the placement of this couplet right now. So that's something to keep an eye on as well, to see where the exact couplet is, just based off what the radar is showing right now. So it's kind of messy on the radar just because we're kind of getting that spot where it's crossing between the two, the two radars. It's kind of a bit of a radar hole right now, but it's kind of tricky. I don't know if it's going to be north of the highway or south of the highway between the two radars, because that kind of makes or breaks the chase right now with the way it's going.
Yeah, it can be very, very difficult, but I'm still seeing the rotation there. I'm going to go back to my radar so I can kind of tell you where that's at. And the rotation on the radar here is going to be pretty close to Buffalo Springs here. And if you take a look at it, it actually looks like the rotation in the storm has actually kind of faded a little bit. It kind of looks like it's gone from a circulation. It looks like it might have gusted out. It looks like the RFD, rear flake downdraft, may have pushed it out. It may be becoming outflow dominant, or it could just be reorganizing. Hard to say. These things do that from time to time. But it looks to me like you've got more push than pull now, at least on these radar scans. And you got kind of a bit of elongated, strong, gusty wind from that the backside of that downdraft there, about to move right over Buffalo Springs. So it looks to me like you don't have as much while there's still some rotation in it, you don't have the tight rotation or the tornadic spin that you had in it. But that could also change at a moment's notice here. These things, the supercells, they go through cycles, they change, they have a tendency to have to reorganize, and they become cyclical, and that's just kind of how it goes. Now, if you look at it out of Fort Worth, and to me, it looks like this is a long way from the radar site. You still see a bit of a circulation there, but it's going to be kind of up high coming into Buffalo Springs now. And Buffalo Springs, a little community down there in southern Clay County. Actually, I've met some people that have been there or that are from there before. And from there, you got some strong gusty winds or maybe a little spin moving lighter along Buffalo Springs, headed towards Vashti. And they're going to be some strong gusty winds moving into Bellevue. Now, if this thing were to spin up and so start wrapping up again, it could wind up maybe down here in southwestern Montague County. So we're going to watch closely for you. Now, I do see also there's a little bit of spin that's developed up here, or maybe some type of it could be just some rotation aloft, but there's a little bit of spin that's showing up here west of Nocona. It doesn't look like anything major, but there definitely is a little bit of a spin there just south of Ringgold headed towards Nocona. That doesn't look like anything major, but I will keep an eye on that. You can kind of see this is kind of a separate storm. This was kind of the northern part of it, and it's kind of trying to take on a little bit of a characteristic of its own here, maybe a little bit of spin there south of 82. The one that we've been watching and tracking for the most of the evening here is kind of moving east-southeast down there in southern Clay County. Heavy rain and hail, Buffalo Springs to Blue Grove, and this continues to kind of move to the east-southeast. So it looks like to me that on the back side of this, you got your updraft sitting about right in there. And on the back side of this, you got this sinking air, and it might be kind of pushing out some now. So that may be what you're seeing here. We'll go to Cameron's feed and see what it is. But it's still some pretty scary looking clouds there, Cameron.
Yeah, still some scary looking clouds. Looks like there is, still the inflow. Still, I don't really necessarily see a well-structured wall cloud at this given time. But yeah, I know I talked to you about this, just a few minutes ago, talking about the placement of the rotation based off the radar. I think Dallas radar is doing a better job of handling the current rotation and the placement and such, because it does look like it's now south of the highway. So now what I'm doing is I'm going towards the Montague County area, not necessarily into Montague County, but there's a road for me to drop south of Vashti. I just telling him down with Vashti, I'm going to drop south out of there because I have to get off this highway now with the storm being off to the south, because it looks like it might be taking on a bit more of a southeast motion now. So I have to now find a way to get further south. That's about 5 miles away before I can make a southward turn and then get back on the other underside of this storm. I can still see plenty of good inflow going into the storm. It doesn't look as aggressive with the inflow. I mean, you still got some good skirt ahead of it, still good inflow, but not as aggressive as we saw it earlier on. So that's the latest. We're still on the highway. We're about 4 miles from dropping south and getting out of this, because right now, I gotta stay ahead because we're starting to get to the forward flanking downward drop, which is where it gets pretty messy with the storm between heavy rain, wind, and some hail. So I'm gonna get south here in the next 4 miles so I can get out of the forward flanking downdraft.
All right. So we're going to go back over here. Of course, Cam's trying to always position himself. It's all part of storm chasing here. You get to ride right along with them. People always come up to Cameron out and myself out. Hey, I want to go storm chasing. What can I do to get to go into the storm chase vehicle? What we're looking at here, and this is going to be that's out of Fort Worth. It still looks like it's hitting the storm kind of high, but you definitely do got a bit of a punch. But you've got a couple things that I'm looking at here. And like I was saying earlier, when you're dealing with these supercell thunderstorms, they have tendencies to organize and reorganize, and then they'll change position. You'll get new spin and whatnot here along it. And we do got so you've got it looks like you've got a new little area of rotation right there, kind of northwest of Post Oak, and kind of northeast of Shannon. There's Buffalo Springs here, over here, Vashti. I've been calling it Vashti, located about right over into this area. So, you've got your spin here. You may wind up seeing this thing spin up. So Buffalo Springs will continue to watch you over here and to the south between you and Post Oak. We'll watch the northern parts of Jack County. They're going to watch over here in the southwestern Montague County. Bowie, I know you've got paying close attention to what's going on to your west here. So much bad weather this year. And just as of late, when we get severe weather, it seems like it's always Jack, Southern Clay, and over into Montague County. It's just been that way. It seems like it's just been that way as of late. It's just where all the bad weather has kind of shaped up to be. But you got the red. There's your winds wrapping around it. There's your winds blowing into it. So you do still got a bit of a circulation still showing up in there. right there, right along the Buffalo Springs area here too. So we're watching this again. A lot of weird things are going on with the radar as far as motions in the storm and different things, because there's usually boundaries over here, and that's kind of what's making it kind of hard to see. Because you've also got some outflow, some outer winds, upper level winds here. I think that might be some. That might be some anvil layer winds maybe, but you look at the cloud over there on the side, and it just looks to me like more of a shelf cloud than it does a wall cloud, at this time here. Of course, you can still see some inflow into the thunderstorm, and you see some outwards and some pushing in there, and those kinds of things here. But it doesn't look to me like it has quite the rotation. But like Cameron's been saying, it's kind of on the edge of the radar here, so it's real difficult to see. But you can see it kind of moving more off to the southeast now. We'll just have to see what the behavior looks like. You still got a little bit of a spin there just north of Buffalo Springs, and then you got a bit of a surge. That could just be a RFD surge on the south side there. Your main rotation could be right there north of Buffalo Springs still. And then again, you got this other little rotating area, broad rotation between Ringgold and Nocona now too. No tornado warning there, but we're going to watch that too. Nocona, it could move pretty close to you, so we'll keep an eye on that as that moves into your area. So I'm going back to Cameron here. Cameron, it looks like you just got a pretty elongated, perhaps maybe shelf cloud where you're at. It still looks like to me there might be a little rotation just north of Buffalo Springs on radar, but it doesn't look all that strong to me at this time.
Yeah, it still has some lowering coming out of it. However, from my exact location, it still might have, you can still see the mesocyclone. It might still have a bit of a wall cloud. It's not the most structured wall cloud, but I do believe this does still have a wall to it right now. And something else I'm watching, Ken, if you're watching the radar looping over the Windthorst area, we talked about these storms cycling and all that. I wonder how this stuff on the backside of Windthorst right now is going to interact with this storm. I don't know if it's going to infect it at all, but that's something I'm watching as well. See, maybe it's going to try to completely restructure itself to drop the rotation, heading off to the backside of the storm as well. Obviously, your notching is, pretty self-explanatory of where it's at, but I wonder if on the backside we're going to see this thing cycle to where the rotation tries to drop off over the Windthorst area and cycle back off to the west. So I'm keeping an eye on that as well, but now I've finally gotten back on the southward. And again, it does have a cyclone. I do still believe it does have a wall cloud. It's not the prettiest looking wall cloud, but I do believe there is a wall cloud that's still attached to the storm right now.
Cameron's kind of getting some data areas there too, and so a couple areas we're watching again. You got this one near Buffalo Springs, and to me, at least right now on radar, it's not as impressive as it was. In fact, I'm not saying that's going to happen. Because it's still got some spin in it. I don't know what the Weather Service is going to do. I don't know if they'll continue this warning. There is a severe thunderstorm warning for Bowie, but at least based upon the radar presentation, it doesn't look to me, at least right now, like it's about to produce anything, and it's wrapped in rain at that. But there's still that circulation. It's kind of broad, but it's kind of in there just north of Buffalo Springs, and this is going to be moving barely a hair south of Bellevue. No tornado with that. Good news is there's been no reports of tornadoes with this here today. And we've been all over it. We've just seen it if it would have happened. And you got this other little area of broad rotation between Ringgold and Nocona. Nothing that's tornadic in that one either, but there could be some pretty gusty winds in that as it makes its way towards Nocona. In addition to that, a lot of heavy rainfall, a lot of hail down there, at least some small hail. Today's atmosphere really wasn't primed for huge hail, but we did see some golf ball size hail, and that's kind of what you'd expect to see with this type of environment. Now, we do see another area of storms that has gotten its act together now kind of east of Graham, headed into the Jacksboro area. And then you go down to the south, and you got that another pretty big supercell just south of Possum Kingdom Lake. Those storms down that way, and a little bit of rotation, but you don't have as much spin with those, again, because you don't have the boundaries there that you have up to the north. You can almost see our outflow boundary. There it is. See that long line there? That's your outflow boundary, and it probably extends from about the Blue Grove, Shannon area right through Alney. North of that, your threat for severe weather is over with now. Here in the Falls, threat for severe weather is over with. I don't even think that we'll see rain again the rest of the night. And I think we're going to see a nice break from the action tomorrow. But late tomorrow night and Thursday, we'll have more storms that'll move in. There'll be some more of this, what we call MCS stuff, moving in late at night and early in the morning. And we could see some more off and on activity right into the weekend. It's just been a crazy spring with all this heavy rain we've had. We needed it, and we got it. And, I've always said in this part of the country, and especially in northwest Texas, southwest Oklahoma, it's feast or it's famine. You either get it or you don't. And this year we're getting it. In many years we don't. So this year we're getting it. A lot of heavy rain. And we could see some more flooding threats as we head into the latter part of the week and the weekend here too. So, but there's your radar here, and you know, again, Buffalo Springs, Post Oak, some little areas of rotation in there, nothing major right now. I'm watching it to see what happens for Bowie, but you can see again, this is from this is out of the Fort Worth. You can see that little area of rotation just barely west of Nocona there. Not a major rotation, but a little bit of a spin there. Just west of Nocona, you might see a little spin in the clouds, but nothing that's producing a tornado, nothing that's dangerous, nothing to be concerned with. And you know, there again, this storm that's now moving through Buffalo Springs, it just looks to me more like a gusty wind area than it does a tornado area, which is good news here. It doesn't look like it's as significant as it was here, but I'm keeping my eye on it here. Then you look at it out of Fort Worth, and you can see maybe a little bit of an area of rotation there, kind of along the border of Clay and Jack County that could maybe potentially head towards Truce. So you know, just hard in this part of the area. It's so hard to track because you know, you're kind of in the between radars, which would be in the radar in Frederick and the radar down in Fort Worth. It's hitting the storm up high in the sky, so it's very difficult to say, you know, what's going on with all that because of the height in the atmosphere. The beam hits it. So we're watching that pretty closely. Here's Cameron's feet again, and looks like they got again, they're trying to get repositioned, and they're moving along here, kind of a bit of maybe a dead spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump off of News Channel 6, and if we need to jump back on, we will. But we'll continue to follow this on the app and on our website and on Facebook Live. And if we need to come back on News Channel 6, we will. But as the storm continues to kind of show signs of kind of weakening a bit, I'm going to jump off TV and go back to programming. And if we do get anything else, we'll come back on.